welcome back to episode 8 of the Project Stardust podcast. You're joined by me, Jordan, and my friend here, Christian Terry. We're going to talk Star Wars this week. We don't have another episode of the Acolyte, so we're going to get into news, and then we'll talk about some weekly thoughts that we've been hearing from the public. So first, I just wanted to bring up, how are you feeling a week after the finale and the show? How are you feeling just in general?
Just in general, I noticed that there's a lot of fans that really like the show, and I get it because the lore behind it is really interesting. But as a fan of the show, because I did want the show to work and everything. It does work, but at the same time, there's still a lot of weird stuff going on. There's still a lot of unanswered questions. The one thing I don't like, which we'll be going into, is how the writer Leslie has to talk about it after the episodes and explain it. Like, oh, well, this is what I wanted to do, blah, 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 blah. And it's like, you don't need to be doing that. Your writing should be doing that. I don't think you should be defending your work right away. You know, I feel like when you make something, it should be clear. It should be up for interpretation. Because if not, like, I don't know, I just don't like that side of what she's trying to do. And it's just, to me, it just seems like it's poor writing. I don't know. What are your thoughts on that? Like, how do you feel about her doing that?
I am like you. I could see that there is a specific fandom for the show, and then there's obviously a part of people that don't, a group of people that don't like the show. For me personally, I just think it's a forgettable show. I don't think it's something I want to be like, oh, that was one of my favorite shows, back then, So I just think it's gonna be forgettable in my opinion. It had highlights. It was cool, but I don't think it's something that's gonna be such a big foundation for Star Wars even moving forward. So that's just my opinion.
I think it might be given a season 2.
I would be down for one though. I would be down.
Yeah.
I mean, you can only go up. I think.
We'll see. Yeah, I hope. I mean, we had the same high hopes when the sequel movies. I forgot the name of the sequel movies right now. Tripping.
Like we went from Last
The
Jedi
Force Awakens, Last
Rise,
Jedi, and like I just had so much hope. I was like, it's gonna get better. Don't worry. Like the first one was good. I was like, okay, but it's like a copy of New Hope. I'm like, whatever. Yeah, I liked it. The Last Jedi came out, and that was the first Star Wars film where I was like, I don't know what I just watched right now. Like, I tried defending it too, and I was just like, And then the last one came out, and I was like, huh. Yeah, but oh well.
Definitely a topic we'll discuss one of these other weeks. I did want to jump into one of the big IPs of Star Wars, starting with The Mandalorian, which they are rumored to have been shooting, and it's going to be supposedly shot in IMAX. How are you feeling about this?
Yeah, that's crazy. I don't know if any other Star Wars film has been like recorded. I guess that's filmed in IMAX. So it's something different.
I'm not sure.
It was Rogue One.
I know JJ. I mean, I think they might. Rogue One definitely.
Yeah, Rogue One had to be. Yeah.
I feel like Rise may have been shot, but I'm not too sure. But
yeah, I mean, either way, that's dope. I mean, hey, I'm a big fan. You see my hat right here. You know what I mean?
Definitely. I would love to see if they even take on the IMAX format. If you've seen one of the films this year, Dune, where they use the aspect ratio to make it look taller, specific for IMAX screens. So that'd be cool, but I don't think it's a direction Dave Filoni would take. He's very with the borders
he's still new.
And everything.
He's still. I mean, there was that really good episode in season 2 where they're fighting the crate dragon, and the screen just like manually changes.
Yeah, definitely.
Like or automatically, like that was crazy. I was just like, whoa! And then like you see so much of the desert and everything.
Definitely.
We'll see.
And directed by Jon Favreau. That was the episode. That's why. That's why the vision was so big.
Oh man, damn, that's right. Well, we'll see what happens because they're for sure gonna fight Thrawn. I mean, it's gonna be linked. So
yeah,
we'll see what happens.
Jumping into the second news article and news in general that you wanted to bring up was that Skeleton Crew isn't being received very well at Lucasfilm. It's a supposed rumor. Definitely take it lightly, but that's something that's making circle in its way into the Star Wars community. How are you feeling?
Definitely. I mean, it makes sense because we had Bob Iger and Kathleen Kennedy ever since Solo came out, because they blame Solo for everything, even though it was The Last Jedi. But, they're like, we want to make sure that we're making stuff, that's right in our... I guess basically they want to make stuff that they know will do good, you know? So they're not just making stuff to make stuff like, oh yeah, we're making Star Wars stuff to make Star Wars stuff. No, they want to make sure, I guess, they have a quality over quantity, which obviously you can make that argument. I don't know if they're doing that, but that's what they're, I guess, to me, with them reacting that way, that's the argument I'm going to bring up about them constantly saying that. I mean, I think Bob Iger recently said that a year ago at the D23, and we're about to get D23 coming up too, so we'll see what else he says about all this. But yeah, we don't know where Skeleton Crew's going to fit in with any of this. We don't even know if the guy Jude Law is going to be a Jedi or something. I had heard a rumor that it was supposed to take place like during Mandalorian or something like that, or after. I don't know. What do you think?
I think they did mention that it is the same timeline as Mandalorian.
Mm-hmm.
I have hope for it, and I'm interested to see how they weave it into it. I think it's such a out there project that there's no way it could do bad. I kind of reference that to like Guardians of the Galaxy.
Yeah.
But in a sense of this direction, it just worries me that it may be another Marvel Kevin Feige situation where he did give power to these creators, which is good, you know, that they're able to creatively make these projects and passion films in their own vision and holistically. A big one was The Last Jedi, which it just doesn't fit, but I think it's a good one-off. If you were just gonna do a Star Wars movie and it's just a one-off, perfect.
Yeah.
I think it's good. But to weave it in and try to even finish it after that, I think it's too hard to follow up. There's nothing that you can do from there. And so I'm
Definitely.
just that's just what worries me, is that giving power in these creators in such a big IP that's had one vision through George Lucas is just worrisome.
Definitely.
And into the last news segment, we are hearing that there's 2 prequel books for the Acolyte that have been announced. I believe this was a Comic-Con. A Yord and Jeki novel releasing next year, July 2025, and another novel set 20 years before the show that seemingly follows Vernestra and Master Indara. Are you hyped at all for any of this? Or do you think there's a fan base for this?
There's a fan base. I mean, I see it on Twitter. There's people that read. I'm not gonna read any of these books. No offense to anybody or anything. That's just my cup of tea. I have Star Wars books when I was a kid, when they used to like come to the school fair and be like, oh, come buy Revenge of the Sith. They're like, come buy these books. You know, like I literally have them all, like the little scholastic ones, you know, like the OG looking ones. Like they're more in depth, you know, but like I read them and they do more, like I guess they emphasize on things, but I don't know. I just don't think it's necessary. Like if you really wanted people to learn about the High Republic, why not just make this an animated show? Why not show all of this? That's just me. That's just me, because the fan base needed to be there prior. And I felt like when we watched the Acolyte, and it may be our fault, but they were mentioning so much stuff from the High Republic books, and I didn't read any of that, you know? And I had heard a lot of like 50-50 debates on like, wow, like these writers have no sense of direction of where they want to go and everything as well. You know, so my bad, I can't provide that here, but like throughout the past 2 years on Twitter that I've seen of Star Wars when they were making these books and everything, I have seen that argument. And that's why I'm just like, man, I don't know. Like even on Comic-Con though, I saw too as well that they have a whole wall and they have a timeline of all their books of like the same authors. So I really don't know. I don't know. I don't think I'm a big fan of it. What do you think about it?
Those 2 books, I just think there was no interest in me to want to know a lot of their backstory. That's just me personally. Again, like we mentioned, that there's probably a fan base for that, and more power to them. Enjoy more Star Wars as much as you possibly can that you enjoy. I did read the Ahsoka book. That's like probably my most recent one.
Right, and they said that one was canon, like legit.
Yeah, in a sense, which it kind of did blend in with the Tales of the Jedi. I enjoyed it. It was nice, and like you mentioned, it's nice to kind of hear their inner thought. But I don't know. I think we're also maybe there's just a fan base for it, because I feel like we're also visual fans in the sense that we want to see these lightsaber fights. We don't want to read about it. We want to see it on the live action and see how they execute it. You know.
like if you want the IP to grow, this is something you should probably be investing in rather than the
Yeah.
books. You know,
Yeah.
that's just my argument. Like I said, like, you know, we could go on a whole topic about this later, but definitely should have created their own story. But there's one more set of news I wasn't able to take a screenshot of, but I just want to share it anyways. This was around like the end of June, a little late, but I saw that they were reshooting Andor season 2. So I just wanted your thoughts on that. Like, what do you think? Because I know Tony Gilroy, like from what I remember in season 1, they had some reshoots as well, and I remember reading that he was like, "Well, I didn't like the way it looked this day and like the setting and everything." So I guess he's really a perfectionist when it comes down to like the cinematography and everything. I just wanted to see if like you thought it was that, or maybe it was the writing. What did you think?
I'm not too sure. I'm very neutral about reshoots in general, just because
Mm-hmm.
I think they're normal, and
Yeah,
um I feel like they're only brought up if when we watch a project, they're like, hey, there was reshoots for this project.
yeah.
A big one I could reference is Solo.
Mm.
I walked in and I just walked in blindly. I was like, oh, this is really good. I thought,
Same,
there's
same.
no
Yeah.
expectation, especially at the time where we had The Last Jedi and everything. I was like, oh, cool. Like this is a good movie. But I then realized and heard about all the backstory of, oh, they had changed directors, they did a lot of reshoots. I was like,
Hmm.
I think the editing was just pretty good, because I didn't feel that sense in the movie, which I did really enjoy, in my opinion.
Yeah. No, definitely. Same here. I didn't have a problem with it at all.
So are you worried about Andor 2? Season 2?
No, I mean, not necessarily. Like you're right. There is a big negative,
Like
I guess,
connotation
like
and
connotation of like how we perceive that, you know, because of like the Flash and every movie that
oh,
has
yeah,
really bad
that's a good
reshoots. You
one.
know, you automatically assume the worst.
Hmm.
But you know, when you have a perfectionist like Tony Gilroy, cinematography wise, I'm sure, I'm sure it'll do justice to the story more.
Definitely.
But yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, definitely.
And then heading into our topics to discuss today, um, we did want to talk about the Acolyte, in which the creator Leslie decided to have Osha kill Soul in the finale. She quotes, "It was always a plan to have Osha kill Soul because Luke forgives his father. Luke throws away his lightsaber and embraces the destruction of the generational lineage with forgiveness and compassion. He's a good and noble character, the epitome of a Star Wars hero, and this is a show about Star Wars villains. That she needed to destroy that generational lineage." How do you feel
Right.
about this quote and
Well,
just her interpretation of that scene?
I have responded to this tweet. I got like a couple likes, but I basically just said, why does it need to have generational lineage? I was like, with Luke, to compare it with Luke and Vader is just totally different because, for one, Luke was the son of Vader. Vader wasn't his master. There's nothing like that. So, like, where's the generational lineage come from Soul and Osha? Like, what is that? Because obviously, if you're trying to say master and apprentice, that's one thing. But if you're trying to say father and daughter, you're out of line there because obviously she's trying to point it out and she's trying to tell you that Soul was like a father figure to her, or he felt that. Maybe she didn't see that. I don't know. It's pretty bad when your viewers don't see it that way. I mean, some of us did. You know, we saw that he cared for her and everything, but I don't know. I just think though that whole thing was just weird. I don't know. It's just such a weird comparison. It's in my
Yeah,
opinion. You know, I don't know. It's just really weird. It's just
yeah.
out there. What do you think about that?
I like every time you say something wild, the emote of the thumbs down emoji pops up.
Oh, it comes up. What? I don't see
Yeah,
that. That's
yeah, yeah,
wild.
yeah. If you watch the playback too, it pops up too. It's funny.
Dude, that's insane.
I I I just don't like her comparing it to that. I feel like it was powerful in its own sense. So why don't we talk
Yeah,
about how powerful it is in the Acolyte sense, with your project. So
it just needs to be its
um
own thing. She
yeah,
needs to stop comparing it. It's like there's no need for comparison.
definitely, yeah.
Sorry.
And,
Yeah.
yeah, in a sense, we can enjoy it for what it is. So
Mm-hmm.
in that moment, I get the message, but I personally didn't feel emotionally invested in that moment. Um, and especially her going downhill, trajectory wise, and falling to her dark side. For me, I thought it was very sudden, and her it just it didn't feel like she was fighting the good for what was left in her to stop herself from killing Soul. In
It's
my
just
opinion.
crazy because yeah, like she had Jedi training already. Like it's kind of hinted. Like she would train as a Padawan. She didn't get her lightsaber, so we know to that level, to that degree, she wasn't made out for that cut. But she still learned how to be a Jedi, or like the ways. I don't know. It just doesn't make sense because then with that same logic and argument, you might as well should have had Anakin change his lightsaber. This dude had Force eyes, like literally like yellow. Like I don't know, what more do you need? I don't know.
Sith eyes, yeah.
It's wild. Sith eyes, excuse me. Yeah.
Yeah. And I again in that moment, I just don't feel the connection of her, really caring about Soul and how he's brought her up. So, and I did feel it the other way. I felt like Soul was really trying to hang on to this girl that he wanted to train as his Padawan and try to bring up as a Jedi. So,
very one-sided.
Very, very, in my opinion.
Yeah, same here. Took the words right out of my mouth.
Heading into the next topic, within the same article or interview, Leslie does talk about how Osha and Qimir fit into the story of Darth Plagueis and Palpatine. Quote, with them having gone through this positive corruption arc and coming together in a joining of forces in a romantic pairing, we always wanted to introduce Plagueis as a foreboding complication. We know Plagueis' apprentice ends up being Palpatine, so it would be interesting to see how these two red lightsaber-carrying warriors fit in that story. What are your thoughts on all of this going on? Maybe even heading into a season 2 story arc.
Yeah. I mean, I was thinking positive, but now that you reread it, I'm just kind of like, are they really going to be in a relationship? Like, is this the first ever Sith couple that we're having? Like, when you're in a Sith, you obviously have to be prepared to kill each other. That's what I think, you know? I don't know. It's just weird to me to be like, oh my God, look, they're together and they're Siths. I don't know. That's just really random. I don't know. That's just random. I do like the Plagueis stuff, maybe, but then it just kind of like what she says right here, and then the other stuff that we're going to get into right now, like the next topic, it just contradicts each other, in my opinion. It's like, oh, well, Plagueis is going to be the one that's going to stop everything from happening. Like, okay, but like, why? And then she goes and she's like, well, this is the reason why. And it's like, are you just like pulling this out randomly? Like, oh, yeah. I don't know. Like I said, I don't want to just crap on this, but at the same time, it's just kind of weird because I'm like, do you not have a plan? Because that's really what it feels like. You don't have a plan.
Yeah, and I don't think the pair is convicting enough where I have a sense that they can overtake Plagueis, you know. I felt that in the prequels, when we had even Maul, Dooku, just them trying to even get at Obi-Wan and Anakin, like, hey, join me, like, so we could, you know, overtake this Darth Sidious.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, whoa, like I could kind of believe in these characters, like, okay, I think they can do it if they actually did pair it together. But with such an iconic and this like figure that we've been talking about forever, like, oh, Plagueis was the one that taught Palpatine and everything, I don't have any conviction that Osha and Qimir would have any chance against him, you know. And like I mentioned to you the last episode, I just don't like the romantic characteristic of their relationship together. I wish it was just more of a power situation in which she's trying to take it from Qimir and take, you know, learn from him to overtake him, and then even, yeah, because then I would be like, okay, cool. Like, I'd like to see you try to go against Plagueis with all this knowledge and all this power that you've gained, you know? Cool.
Yeah. You got, I mean, you remember that fight, how it went for Maul and his brother? Or like with Palpatine, you know what I mean? Like, that's pretty much what I think is going to happen if they go against Plagueis.
Yeah,
which is like the next topic you'll be bringing up right now, too, which is funny to me.
Yeah, and what you're mentioning is definitely Clone Wars, where Savage and Maul are on Mandalore, and then Sidious comes rolling up and just attacks them both, and just, oh my gosh, it just destroys Savage, and then Maul has to beg for mercy. Insane episode.
It makes sense though, because like I think that's what it means to be a Sith. It means that you're so overconfident in yourself, and you think that you're that guy. You think you're that person, that nothing can stand in your way because you feel so powerful. That truly does embody the Sith. And you know what? If they go that route with Osha and Qimir, thinking like, they're the power couple, they got this much power, like, because obviously Osha seems like she's harnessing her mother's powers, so she's going to be very powerful. And then you got Qimir,
Definitely.
who has his own type of power. So, I mean, could they be a deadly combo? Maybe, but they ain't bodying Plagueis. That's all I gotta say. Plagueis is gonna body them, you know.
Yeah. It would be cool if they do get greenlit for a season 2 that everyone who has fallen for this romantic relationship, as viewers, can kind of see the tension between those two of
It should
almost the rule of two of which they're trying to overtake
establish
the other.
Oh
Yeah, and
yeah, that's
establish
it.
that definitely. So
Yeah,
that would be neat to see. I would enjoy
I'm for that. If they can do that, I am with it really. Because if
Yeah.
season 1 is really the introduction, but a very raunchy introduction, and they can fix it in season 2 and then just make it super violent because they are Sith, I am for that, legit. Because I want to learn more about the Sith code. I just hope they do justice for it, because there is a whole book for Plagueis. So if they just follow that book and kind of intertwine it with the story with Osha and Qimir, maybe it could be successful.
Do you
I'm totally
think
fine
that
with
would upset people though if they try to pull it from the book to relate it to the show?
It might, but the book was okay. The book is canon to a certain degree. That's what I think. I think the way Disney sees these things, the way Disney sees comics, the way Disney sees books, is that it's not canon until they show it in animated or live action. That's really what I think Disney like does it. Obviously, it could be disrespectful to the authors and stuff like that, but at the same time, that to me is how Disney establishes canon, because this is their own. This is their IP now. You know, they own Star Wars, and I think in order for them to just do the things that they want to do, they obviously have to add stuff from different stories. I mean, we already see it right now with the Mandalorian, with Thrawn, with that book. What's that book title? I'm sorry, where like Luke ends up fighting Thrawn. I forgot the
Heir to Empire.
Yeah, so it's like that. So we already know Filoni's pulling stuff from that book, but he's intertwining it with the characters they created and everything, which I totally respect. So can they do that with this? I think they definitely could.
Yeah.
But I just hope they follow it in the right direction without adding their own little spice to it, you know?
Yeah, and I like the books because, again, like I said, they give context to inner thoughts
They
and
do.
monologues of what they're feeling at this time. But in the sense of what you're saying, I feel like it just pulls from legends, which are the books.
Yeah.
Like, oh, this is what they've said about this, blah 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 blah.
But a lot of the legend stuff's yeah, no, definitely. But a lot of the legend stuff is there for them to use though. Like they got so much juicy stuff there that they can establish. I mean, there were arguments of people saying that they could have just easily made a movie from the legend stuff, not even having to worry about continuing like from where we left off with George Lucas stuff. I was all for that too. I was like, hey, if you go on that route, I am for it, because I'm down to see a whole different era, different things. You know, these stories have been established already. I haven't really looked into them that much. I'm cool with that, but they didn't.
Heading into the last topic, within the same interview or article, the creator Leslie states, we wanted between Plagueis and Qimir and their relationship, we wanted to show Qimmir's master. We weren't going to wait a second season for that. We wanted to wrap up the twin storyline. We're not going to leave everybody hanging. They've sat through all of this, and we want to reward people for watching.
Yeah. Like I said, I like that. I think it's cool. I'm just trying to make sense of it, because I'm just like, well,
Definitely.
if Plagueis knows that his apprentice has another apprentice, is he doing this for a reason? Is he doing this because he knows Osha was made from the Force because the mother manipulated the Force? Is that the reason? I'm cool with that. Obviously, that seems like that's the reason. I'm not like a full-on dummy, but like I'm hoping that's the reason. Because if not, and Plagueis is like, oh, who's this girl? Like, I have no idea. Is she powerful? Like, you know, I'm kind of hoping he was there the whole time and he was like, good. Like he met her. He has her as an apprentice. Now I can remain in the shadow and act like I don't know that he has this apprentice. Or I don't know. Yeah. Sorry, go ahead.
They've also mentioned how even it'd be nice. I've read from one of the fan theories as well that what if Plagueis created the twins and kind of built and established this experiment of this coven of witches, and had them set up with the twins of his creation, one of his creations, and now you see them this experiment grown up, and with the Force and all that. So very powerful. So I don't know. It's just a fan theory that's been out there, and I was like, oh, that's kind of interesting that
So
he may have been there from the beginning to have established them.
I don't think
Um,
that's a bad theory at all. I think that's really good, but I do think the mom did it on her own though, and I think that's what amazes him because I think from his own book, from like summaries and stuff that like I've learned from his book, is that he's trying to learn it throughout that whole time. That he's trying to figure out the secrets and everything about the Force and all that. So I think this is like really big for him, educationally, like or educational wise. Excuse me, turning whatever. I'm thinking he's really trying to like learn
Crack
from
down
them
and
or
try to
learn
figure
from it.
out how to create life.
Yeah, yeah. But that's why I just think it's weird though, because it's just like, well, how do you? If Qimir knows that that's his master, why hasn't Qimir mentioned anything the whole time? Why wasn't he like, oh, I have a master, Osha, like we gotta keep this on the down low or something? What are they gonna try to do? They're gonna break canon and make it like, oh, there's three of us, like you know, like she's just an acolyte. She's not a Padawan like Qimir.
Yeah.
I don't know what they're planning on doing with that. And then, well, one more thing I want to add, even though like this is an interesting paragraph about what Leslie said. I'm wondering though, what are they gonna do about Master Venestra coming after them now? Because she's gonna be coming after them. Because we see her talking to Yoda. We don't know what that conversation is. It could be, hey, I need help looking for a Jedi who turned rogue. He could be my apprentice. He could be the one following some dark stuff. We don't know where that's gonna go either. But I do think they're gonna follow that because for one, it's an interesting storyline because they have to add some stuff to it. And two, that's her wife. So I mean, for sure she ain't gonna write out her wife, you know?
That would be a cool storyline. I'd be really down to see that. It'd be really nice
Yeah.
mystery
Yeah. But
to see.
then we got May back, which is kind of funny and random.
Yeah. I did want to bring up this last graphic for one of our newses. Not
Was
news,
it the
sorry.
Reddit?
Things to talk about. Oh, it's one I sent you from Twitter.
Oh yeah, the timeline,
This
right?
updated Dark Side Lineage timeline. How are you feeling about this?
Yeah, I think it's
I just before you get into it, I just think it's awesome
add
how
your thing.
juicy that the prequels were. Oh my gosh, look at all that right there, the lineage right there.
Yeah, definitely,
That
definitely.
is gonna be hard to top, like ever. Yeah, that's
It's just
amazing.
like that one, that one right side of just Qimir, May, and Osha that no one talks about. It's just like they're just there, like.
Yeah, just there. Yeah, dude, that oh my gosh, that prequel era in general,
Yeah.
before New Hope is just
Mm-hmm.
insane, dude. Look at that. Um, yeah,
Then they just randomly added Kira.
yeah, Qimir. I like her.
No, I
She's
mean,
cool.
yeah, it's interesting. I ain't got much to say. I don't even know. I don't even know. But yeah, it's there. It's
Yeah,
established, I guess.
it's established. Wrapping up on things. Is Star Wars having a panel at Comic-Con?
I don't think so. I think they're gonna save up all the
Save it
juicy stuff for their
D23?
D23. That's coming up in
Okay,
August.
I
Yeah, but
see.
they're there right now, and they're just there to talk about their books. I'm guessing
That's what
and
it is.
stuff.
Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Disney's. I mean, I think when Disney goes to Comic Con, it's more for Marvel because it's comic books and everything. And
Hmm.
then when it comes down to D23, it's all like the animated movies, Pixar, but also Star Wars now because it's their largest IP. So I think probably in a month or less than a month, we're gonna be getting more juicy news about Star Wars, what they're planning on doing.
August,
We
right?
might we
Yeah.
may we may even get an announcement for season 2 of the Acolyte. I think during that time.
That'd be neat to see if they actually do
Yeah,
that. Any
we
last
will
thoughts
see.
you wanna put out before we wrap things up?
I just hope they do justice in season 2. If they get a season 2, I hope they do justice. If they don't get a season 2, that's pretty funny because that's like an embarrassment to be like, damn, you wrote pretty
Yeah.
bad show to not get a season 2. But hey,
Um,
I feel like they want a season 2 though because they already established Plagueis, so it seems like they already have their heart set on a season 2.
definitely. And I'm still very hopeful with the path and road of Star Wars that they're taking in general. Again, I mean we haven't had as much content as we've been having um, for a while. So I just try to appreciate every project that's been out, and I
Been
actually
a little dry.
I do appreciate just all the news and all the projects we're getting
Yeah, we'll be
in
bringing
Star
up
Wars.
rumors and weekly news
Oh, definitely,
weekly.
definitely. Yeah,
Once a week. So it may be old to you guys, and it's probably old to us, but we'll still bring it up because we're going to be doing this once a week, not every day.
yeah. I think that wraps up things for this week's episode, though. I think we've hit everything we wanted to talk about, but we'll catch you guys
Yep.
next week on when we do talk next time. So we appreciate it. Thank you for tuning into episode 8 of the Project Stardust podcast. It's been a pleasure to join me, Jordan, and my friend here, Christian Terry, and we'll see y'all next week.
Thank you.